Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you. Featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your very best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. I'm pleased today to say that I have a guest whose name is Lewtan. She's a health and lifestyle coach, the founder of Healthy, Happy, and Hip, an award-winning author, and the host of Busy, Stressed, and Food-Obsessed Radio on voiceofamerica.com. Now, that was named after her book, so everybody should know about that. Lisa has so many different skills that she's developed as a successful technology entrepreneur. We're going to talk to her today about so many different things that have led her to write a book that you're going to find very valuable. So my guest today is Lewtan, and I want to thank you for being on the Susan Brender Show. Welcome to my show.
Thanks, Susan. It's a pleasure to be here today.
You know, Lisa, I want you to describe again what a lifestyle coach is. I've had many people on my show, but the fact is that when they describe lifestyle coach, people just don't understand what that means. So please give them an idea.
Well, I think that's such a great question. Well, many people come to me and they say, I'd like to lose weight. And I'll say to them, I don't do that. I will make you healthier, and losing weight is a byproduct of living a healthier life. Because the moment we start thinking about losing weight, we go into deprivation mode and we get all stressed, and it kind of backfires quite a bit. So what I'll work with somebody is, let's look at your food. Let's look at your exercise. Are you meditating or using other ways to find tranquility and calm down in your life? Are you dealing with, limiting self-beliefs? Are you happy with your work? Are you learning new things? It's really taking a very holistic view at your entire life and how you're living and what's getting in the way of you feeling the way you want to feel and living the way you want to live.
Lisa, I once read in the New York Times from an author who was the Science Times representative, and she said something about this. She said, when you're pretty older, I should say older, you either gain 10 pounds or you lose 10 pounds. That's because of your genetic predisposition. Now, what do you say to that?
Well, there's certainly a lot about genetics that we don't know, and there's certainly so much about our diets, and so much has changed over the last 50 years in what they're putting in our food supply. So I think it's really hard to say what's truly going on. I think a lot of things we've been told are true are actually not. All this business about whether, we're not supposed to eat fat, and now we are eating fat. We found out that was actually not true. And we are dealing with so much sugar in our food supply. So I think that the whole genetic thing has been confused and out of whack, and we have to really start taking responsibility for our own health. And then we have a little bit more control about what's going on.
Okay, so say, for instance, somebody comes to you and they say, listen, I don't feel good. In fact, I feel bad. And one of the things that I don't know how to do is I don't know how to diet properly. So put yourself in your shoes, if you will, and give our audience an idea of what you would say to them when they tell you that they don't know what to do.
Well, obviously that's not a very quick answer, but what I would probably start doing with someone is get a sense of what they're eating, throughout the day, and their meals and their snacks, and also what time they're eating, and how much time is going in between meals, and how late at night are they eating. Because I often see people who are late night eaters are not hungry in the morning, and they don't want to have breakfast, and it sets them off for a day of, let's just say, non-optimal eating. And then we'll work slowly on experimenting, like let's start with breakfast and see maybe we can find a better breakfast that will hold you longer and be more satisfying and increase your energy. And then when breakfast is in good shape, we're going to move to lunch and dinner, and we attack it very slowly. That's one way. Now, on another side, at the same time, I usually put my clients through, I offer periodic online courses and programs where they can take sugar out for 10 days and see how they feel. Or another one is an elimination diet called Eat to Thrive, where they take out sugar, dairy, gluten, soy, and alcohol for 10 days. These are just to experiment. These are not recommendations on how to live your life. It's just to say, oh, maybe I feel a little less bloated when I'm not eating dairy, or maybe I feel a little less brain foggy when I'm not eating gluten. So everything that I do is to help somebody experiment to better understand their own body.
Mm-hmm. Now, people are inundated with so much information, and especially now with the computer. You know, you could just get on the computer, you could type diet in, you could type anything you want, and it's going to give you so much information that it's very difficult to figure out what's right. Now, again, I wonder if you were to give people advice, and you know that there's all of this information, what would you say again to the audience? Because they want to know. They want to know what the best treatment is for you.
Well, you have to remember that I am a coach. I'm not a registered dietitian, so I have my own bias on this. And I have studied many, many, many dietary theories, and I have experimented myself and my clients with many dietary theories. And the only thing that I will say is that a diet full of healthy protein, whether you're vegetarian or not, vegetables, leafy greens, non-starchy vegetables, healthy fats is your basis of your diet. And everything else, experiment. Your grains, experiment. Your dairy products, experiment. Nuts and seeds I'm going to put into the healthy fats, along with avocados and coconut oil and olive oil. So those are all really good things. And everything else is really an experiment, in terms of how does it feel in your body. But you can't go wrong with eating healthy proteins, healthy fats, and lots of, good vegetables.
Yeah, but now there's another issue that we as a society have to deal with, and that is that we're all stressed out because everybody's so busy. They have to go to their office. They have to do exercise at the gym. Some people start even at 5 in the morning, and it's like so weird that they feel every day is packed full. So how do they create a diet that would work for them? Because needless to say, they're so busy.
Well, I think number one, we make time for things that are important to us. So it has to be something that is important. I always, I like to say, if you ever hear yourself saying, I'm too busy to blank, like I'm too busy to eat breakfast or I'm too busy to go to the gym, switch that around and see how this feels. Well, eating healthy is not a priority for me. Going to the gym is not a priority for me. And then it kind of makes sense. You're right. Obama used to exercise. Beyonce, eats healthy. Like people who make time to do things that are important to them. So number one, it has to be important to you. And if it's important to you, it's really not that hard. You just, you can pack up some food and bring it with you. Most restaurant food is not as healthy as it could be, and most, takeout options and vending machines are certainly not healthy options. So, make some stuff, make a little bit more on the weekend, and bring it with you. And it doesn't have to be complicated things. It could be really simple, easy, healthy food, and you'll feel better. You'll think more clearly. You'll have better energy, and it doesn't have to be complicated.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get to your book. You've written a book, and give us the title of the book, and let us know what inspired you to do that, because needless to say, writing a book is not that easy.
No, it isn't. The name of my book is called Busy, Stressed, and Food Obsessed. And I wrote it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I had been writing quite a bit for, Huffington Post and some online magazines, and I found that my writing was really reaching people in a way that they felt I got it. I'm very relatable. I'm not holier than thou. I share a lot of my own struggles and stories, and I think people related to my voice. And so I thought that would translate well in a book. I also wanted to take the information I was sharing with my one-on-one coaching clients and share that with a broader audience. And so I set out, and writing a book is super difficult. It was probably one of the most difficult things I ever did. And I'm really happy to say that the book's won a couple of awards, and it It was an Amazon bestseller for a little while, and it's just opened a lot of doors for me, and I've gotten great feedback from readers on it as well.
That's great.
I think every Amazon review is a 5-star, which made me really super happy.
Now, you said you put some of your stories, things that happened to you in the book. Could you give us just like one little piece of that?
Yeah. Well, I think my biggest story is I was a tech entrepreneur years ago, and I started very young. I was not taking care of myself. I was not listening to my body. I grew up in a world where, suck it up, keep the stress inside, where many of us did grow up with that. And so when I had all these little warnings along the way, I just ignored them. And eventually I really crashed and burned. I collapsed. And so in trying to really figure out what went wrong with me and how to make it right, I had to wake up and start paying attention. And I did. I started really paying attention. It took a long time, but I was able to finally restore my health. And then I thought, wow, I feel pretty good. What would it take to feel great? And I just kept experimenting with myself, and I went on to feel better and better and better. And later on, I went back to school, to study holistic nutrition, and entered this world. And it was just kind of a no-brainer because I understood firsthand what this busy, crazy, stressed life is. This is not theoretical. This is like I lived it. I suffered.
Yeah.
Don't let this happen to you.
Right. Now, does this apply to kids? Because if you teach kids very early on, you find out that they have an attitude which is different from a lot of other kids whose parents are not available to them to teach them how to eat well. And I want to say one more thing apropos of this, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. I had a friend who said she wanted to kind of do something about the fact that people eat McDonald's or Burger King or, one of these fast food things. And she said, how do I fight them? They're huge. They make millions upon millions of dollars, and we can't fight them because how? Just how? So think about this. McDonald's. You walk past McDonald's and you smell those fries cooking. You smell the hamburgers. It all smells so good. And your child said to you, Mom, I want a hamburger. I want fries. I want a shake. How do you fight that?
I think you don't walk in the door, to be honest.
Mm.
I think that, you have to, I think that most of what I try to teach people is strategies. If you can't go in the donut shop and not get a donut while you're getting your coffee, don't go in the donut shop. I'm not a real believer in this willpower. I think that so much of it is triggers. And so you have to set yourself up for success. And if that's going to be the case, go somewhere else. Eat at home.
Right. Eat home. That's probably the best formula, right?
Yeah, eat at home. The issue of kids, on one hand, there's so much more knowledge out there than we've ever had before. And I think that parents really have access, if they want it, to so many wonderful recipes and strategies, so much free information online. On the other hand, I think that it's gotten really insane what kids are given. They do go to soccer practice and then they get brownies. Mm-hmm. And every day's a holiday, and there's so much thrown at them. I remember my son was an athlete, and the team dinners the night before were horrible. There were probably 50 desserts and 50 kind of chips and garlic bread and like pasta, and there was not a healthy food on the table. And when I would even mention to other parents, like, maybe we could improve this quite a bit, they were like, why? They like it. So I think that, there is a mentality that has to shift here, and we have to start in our own homes and really just start taking responsibility and educating ourselves.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the word holistic. When you say holistic, do you mean alternative? Is that the...
I don't mean alternative. I mean really looking at the whole life, like what I said before. Why are we eating? Well, maybe you're hungry. Maybe it's a habit. Maybe it's a trigger. Maybe you hate your job. Maybe you just are really bored and you need a break. You're looking at so many different directions rather than just here, eat a piece of chicken and some broccoli. It's not simple like that.
Right.
And that's why I struggle. Anyone who goes on a regular diet like that, it's just not sustainable because it's not what you want. You're eating someone else's plan. And until you can figure out what's going on with you, you're never going to come up with something that's sustainable and happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I eat healthy. I love healthy food. I never feel deprived in any way. I feel like I'm the luckiest person because I'm getting the best food.
Right.
So it's a mind shift.
Mm-hmm. Now, compared to a lot of countries, the Japanese used to always say that they live to a very long age because of their diet. But now, suddenly, all of these McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken are entering their society. Do you ever work with any people from, say, Japan or from some of the Asian countries? Because they really know how to eat, but they're being affected again by all those fast food places. Did you ever speak to any of them?
No, I haven't, but the truth is that whenever, our Western eating styles and restaurants hit any population, all the disease rates go up instantly. It's just a known factor. So, we're really not doing very good to the world as far as nutrition is concerned. It's
right.
really quite sad.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about, say, 5 foods that you feel are very important, and let's talk about 5 different foods which really you want us to stay away from.
Well, again, I think what I mentioned before, I think you want to have healthy protein sources, and you go for the best quality you can. If you can get, grass-fed, top of the line quality in your meats, wild fish, you go for the best you can because we'll spend a lot of money on education or clothing, but the food is the thing that is going to make you feel the best and protect your health. So this is really where I believe is a good place to invest in yourself, getting the highest quality food you can. I would say, vegetables, if you can get organic and locally grown, awesome, do that. If you can't, do the best you can. If you can only get frozen, but get them. Because, you're going to do better off with frozen broccoli at your supermarket than you are with your McDonald's French fries,
Right.
So do the best you can under the situation you can. I think that healthy fats, I personally am an avocado maniac. I just love avocados. I love olive oil, coconut oil, nuts and seeds, that type of thing. I think fruits are wonderful, but in moderation. We've been told to eat unlimited fruit, but I don't agree with that. I think that fruit is a treat, and you should eat a couple pieces of fruit a day and leave it at that. And I think that, all the other things are really, what do you love? What do you love and what can you tolerate? If you're going to have grains, you're going to have whole grains. You're not going to have processed food. And I think that going to your next question is what to avoid: processed, packaged food, with artificial anything, with high sugar. I think that you want to eat real food. And so I say just keep eating real food. If it's grown somewhere, if you know what it is, that's what you're supposed to be eating.
If you're buying in the supermarket something and you want to understand the ingredients, I call it food labeling.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you look for when you're buying, say, a can of peas?
So again, I'm going to go back to this thing that I really believe whenever you can, buy the real thing, buy peas in the produce or buy frozen peas more than peas in a can. But that being said, hopefully in the can are peas, maybe a little salt, not too much. But when you start getting all these other ingredients, you got to wonder. And I'll share a story with you that I love. And this was years ago. A woman shared this story with me. And she said she was in the market with her son. And her son was like, Mommy, let's buy chocolate chip cookies. And she said, well, pick up the chocolate chip cookies and count how many ingredients are in those chocolate chip cookies. And he's like, 1, 2, 3, 4. He said 23. And then she said, okay, when we make cookies at home, what's in our cookies? And they're thinking, flour and sugar and butter. And he's like, 7. So she's like, okay, what are all those other ingredients in those cookies that you want to buy right now? All of those are to make them sit on a shelf for a couple of years.
Wow.
Right?
Right?
Let's go home and bake cookies. So again, whatever you're doing at home is usually going to be a better solution than what you're getting in a lot of these packaged foods.
In fact, this is not about food. It's just about if a mother is talking to a son or a daughter and they're giving them advice and they're giving them the sense of what it takes to be healthy. That's more than just being healthy. It's being mentally healthy. It affects kids. I mean, I want parents to share with their children, and I'm sure you do, how to have a good life, how not to be stressed, how to eat well, all of those different things. Now, speaking of stress, you talk a lot about stress in your book. What is the most important thing you want to say about that?
I think the most important thing is that we cannot prevent stress. Stress is going to happen to us, and stressful events are going to happen throughout our life. But what we can work on is how we deal with stress. And if we don't find tools to deal with stress, it will destroy us, like it did in my case when I collapsed. Stress was a huge part of it. So I'm a huge fan of breathing techniques and meditation. And I'm not talking about sitting there 30 minutes, like even 5 minutes at the beginning of the day of really just, being quiet and looking within and breathing and just being at peace can literally change the outcome of your entire day. So I think that's a really, really important thing to focus on.
So I always like, Lisa, to give my guest the last word. So for you, what would you want to say?
I would want to say that if you take the time to get to know yourself in a whole new way, like not just accept, I can't control myself, I'm going to eat this, but go, well, why do I eat this? And is this really serving me well? And really trying to take time to understand yourself as a real person without judgment or shame. There's a lot to be learned, and there's a lot of wonderful positive changes you can make in your life that feel good. They don't feel like work. They feel good because you're taking care of yourself in a whole new way.
That's great. Now, if they want to get in touch with you or buy your book, how do they do that?
The book is on Amazon and also on audible.com, and it's Busy, Stressed, and Food Obsessed. To learn more about me and what I do, they can go to my website, healthyhappyandhip.com. And I do have some courses. I have a Ditch Your Sugar Itch program coming up in April, where it's a 10-day, very educational, very supportive group program online where we give up sugar for 10 days and feel amazing at the end, or reduce sugar, depending on where you're starting from. And so there's some information about that on my website, as well as some other programs that I offer.
Where's that going to be held?
That's online, and so we have group calls a few times. There's little tidbits of information that gets sent to you every day, a group forum. It's a really fun thing, and people come back and they do it. We offer it about twice a year, that program, because it's hard to stay away from sugar. It's just so addictive and so everywhere. So it's a great kickstart to just lowering the sugar in your life.
Just give us a little tease about the course. I would like to get a little something to give our audience, and we'll leave it that.
A little tease about what's offered?
Yeah, in the online course about sugar.
Well, I try to make it really fun. So each day you log in and there might be a little video or an article and group questions and recipes and sharing. And everyone in the group, will pose questions to each other. They get accountability buddies. It's really a fun thing. I have to be honest. It sounds like, torture for people. I can't eat sugar. But people really, really enjoy it. And many people make friends through it and stay in touch. And I'm really excited because I update the content every time I offer it, and I offer gobs and gobs of support in there. Nobody is ever left alone. They really feel like they're part of this community, and it feels great. And at the end, I mean, I've had people who were total junk food eaters and snacked on candy all day, and all of a sudden go, I actually really like vegetables. I never could taste them before, and now I like them. Like, it's completely transformative. That's what I like offering. I love seeing the effect of what happens to people in such a short time.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, my guest today has been Lewtan. She's a health and lifestyle coach, the founder of Healthy, Happy, and Hip, an award-winning author, and the host of Busy, Stressed, and Food-Obsessed Radio on Voice America. Thank you so much, Lisa, for being on the Susan Brender Show. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, Susan, it's been great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to The Susan Brender Show. To be a guest, email sebrender@yahoo.com.